Welcome to Gulf South Outdoors. Boy, have we got a great show for you this week.
That's right. This week, we're back in Cuba. And if you missed the show last week, buckle up. We have some seriously cool stuff in store.
We were in Cuba with the Oceans for Youth Foundation as part of a people-to-people trip. But you know, once all the educational stuff is spoken for and it's just you in the water, I got to say we pushed a few boundaries.
You must be referring to our old buddy Nino. Come on, he wasn't that big.
Well, maybe he didn't look that big from your safe spot inside the boat, but from my vantage point, well, you'll have to see for yourself. We loaded up in the tender and ran to a wide mangrove cut where our dive guides began calling, "Nino! Hey, hey, hey! Nino! Hey, hey, hey! Nino! Hey, hey, hey!"
After 10 or 15 minutes, this 9-foot-long crocodile comes swimming toward us from the mangroves.
I figured this was a routine part of the trip, so I slipped into the water to get some video up close and personal. But I noticed I was the first and the only one in the water. I began having second thoughts. My concern quickly faded as the other fools, divers, joined me. I figured that with them in the water, my odds were reduced for ending up as Nino's dinner, should he decide to go off script.
Obviously, I couldn't be outdone by my dad. And also, he would never let me live it down if I didn't get in the water. So I decided not to let the opportunity slip through my fingers, and into the water I went with this giant dinosaur of a crocodile.
Well, diving with Nino was an incredible experience. Hated to see him go, but I loved watching him leave. A great experience, but I'm still not sure what came over me to actually get that close to that croc. When we come back, we get up close and personal with something even more terrifying. Stay tuned.
Epic trips call for epic experiences. Besides, the crocs were nothing in comparison to, well, those other things. If you haven't guessed by now, we're talking about sharks. On one dive, the sharks were everywhere. I guess they figured out the whole sanctuary thing and know they're safe there.
This you have to see to believe.
One of the high points of the dive was sharing the waters with lots of 8 to 10 foot long Caribbean reef and silky sharks. They were everywhere.
I've dove with sharks a number of times, such as nurse sharks, small reef and white and black tip sharks, but never in these numbers, and certainly not in this size.
The sharks appeared comfortable around us, but it took me a little while. I know that our dive team leaders have dove with these sharks a number of times, but they were still very large creatures with a mouth chock full of razor-sharp teeth. There was no question that if they chose to, they could have cut a swath straight through our group in no time.
Gradually, we relaxed and felt more comfortable with them. One came so close, I could touch it. Now that was a little weird. I have to say that once we got used to it, it truly was a beautiful experience watching them swim around us in the wild like this.
For such large creatures, it's amazing how graceful they are. But still, when you look directly in that eye,
Well into one of our dives, I noticed one shark in particular exhibiting aggressive behavior. Generally, before attacking, sharks will begin to circle, and that's just what this one was doing, right around my good friend, David. Wow, that was pretty exciting. But as you could tell, some of those big sharks seem to be thinking about going off script. And that brings up the question, what's the protocol when one of them decides to do just that? Well, when we come back, you'll see in this clip of the week exactly how they do that in Cuba. Stay tuned. I wasn't the only one who noticed the shark's aggressive behavior. The dive master did too, and simply gave it a tug on the dorsal fin, and off it went. Just a little love tap.
awesome clip. For your shot at Clip of the Week, submit your videos to gulfsouthoutdoors@gmail.com.
Welcome back to GSO. Now the croc was huge, the sharks were massive, and literally everything we saw in the water looked like it could swallow us whole.
You definitely had to be alert. But nothing, and I literally mean nothing, prepared us for the terror waiting back on the shore. It started out like any other trip. That is, except for the planned stop at an island to visit the local wildlife before our dive. For the record, I was not informed of everything and had no idea what I would soon face. It was terrible.
Really? I couldn't believe how cute those things were. They were sort of like beavers without the big flat tail. And they were so tame you could just about pat them on the head. All they wanted was some mango and came right up to us begging for it. Not the fearsome animals someone would have you believe.
I'm not talking about the hoodia. I'm talking about those giant reptiles that came slithering after us with drool running out of their mouths. Clearly, they wanted blood.
Blood. Those little lizards were just like their furry friends, looking for a chunk of mango. I can say the iguanas weren't very neat eaters. They had mango all over their face and head.
You know what else were messy eaters? Raptors and T-Rexes.
It would have been cool to have taken an iguana home with us and maybe a couple of hootias too. You know, a lot of folks keep iguanas as pets.
You know, they also thought it was a good idea in Jurassic Park to keep dinosaurs as pets, but we all see how that turned out. Yep. Oh.
Terror?
Hey, iguanas basically used to be dinosaurs. They may as well have been miniature T-Rexes running around out there.
Right. Britt's been diving with sharks since she was a teenager. She's jumped out of planes and traveled all around the world. But for some reason, she has this thing about iguanas, which is funny because it started soon after she fed a bunch of them sea grapes down in Little Cayman. Well, when we come back on Go South Outdoors, it's time to go from the catch to the kitchen.
That's right. It's time for Hook It and Cook It.
From the catch to the kitchen, it's time for Hook It and Cook It.
Hook it and cook it. From the catch to the kitchen, it's your front row seat to learn mouth-watering new ways to fix seafood. It's time for Hook It and Cook It.
But we're gonna get started off with one rail bed pepper, one just regular yellow onion, and right about two cups of this beautiful wild rice. And what we're gonna do first is we're gonna get this pot heating up.
Okay.
And we're just gonna julienne some red pepper. If you can, Frank, I'm gonna just get this going for you.
Okay,
just maybe put a little bit, about a quarter cup of olive oil in there, and we'll just pop those in.
Maybe a little spatula there on you?
Yeah.
All right.
See a little stirring stick.
All right.
We're just gonna give it a little bit of kosher salt.
Okay.
And I'll finish this oven. And then once those are softened up, we're just gonna add about 5 cups or a good quart of just low sodium chicken broth. And we're gonna bring that up to a boil.
And that'll become the stock for the rice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And then we're gonna add our rice. And this is one of my favorite rice. It's just super healthy, super good. Get all that in there and give it a good stir.
Okay.
Turn up our heat, and then all you do is give it a good cover. And probably about 45 minutes to an hour and a half. You might want to check it, stir it, and oh, not that one, this one.
Okay.
And it's gonna puff up, and that's the real key. Wait for it to puff up. You're almost gonna see like a real like a puffed rice. And we're just gonna take a couple nice of these little steak medallions. I think 2 is a pretty good portion. That's gonna be about 6 to 8 ounces each. We're gonna get our pan all nice and smoking hot. We have a new thing. It's new to me. I'm sure it's been around for a while. It's this avocado oil. Mm-hmm. It's a great searing oil. It's a great. It's got a high smoke point and everything.
Okay.
It's depending on which book you read, it's the new healthy oil.
Okay.
Here we're gonna just give this a little salt and pepper seasoning. Get that pan nice and hot. Not sure if it's, yeah, I think she's getting hot now. Oh yeah, get that nice little sizzle there.
Now, now we're just going to sear it. Is that
just going to sear it, and we're going to flip it.
So you're searing it, kind of get the color and the crust, and then cooking in the oven so that you don't get it overcooked. Is that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
we're just going to So, well, in the oven, it's going to cook from all sides. You're going to get the top, bottom, and you know, it's going to cook from all sides. And there we go. Get a nice little crust on there. We'll pop it in the oven. Excuse me, Frank.
So you just sear it on one side.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's going to finish searing on the other side.
Oh,
there.
watch
It won't
this. Okay.
take very long. We're going to start getting our sauce going. This is what's going to take a little bit of time. But while we're going to probably add maybe a cup of wine here. We're going to add a little bit of minced shallot.
Okay.
Get this going as high as we can. We're just going to add a little bit of heavy cream. That seems to be reducing real nice.
Okay.
Just a 36% milk fat. We're going to probably add maybe a cup again.
Okay.
And then we're just going to let that reduce. We're going to add our little saffron. This is one of those. It's probably the most expensive item in the world by weight. It is very expensive. But one good thing about it is that you don't need a lot. Like I'm basically going to take just a little pinch, and that's all you really need. Just a few threads to get that color going. And I think we're about ready.
Okay.
So I'm just going to take it quick off the heat. I'm going to put it right here on the grill. I'm just going to add like maybe 2 little pads of butter, and then just kind of swirl it in.
All right. So we have the sauce here, the wild rice, and then the cucumber salad here. So, you know, what are the main focal points of the flavors that you expect?
You're going to get like a very earthiness with the wild rice, and that the saffron. Everything is real mild tasting, including the fish. So you don't want a lot of blackening seasoning in this kind of fish, in my opinion. It's just going to so when you pair stuff like with this, it's going to be, you know, mild and earthy, and then you're going to get a little bit of zing with that, with the acidity in the vinegar and the cucumbers.
And I guess you mainly let the fish speak for itself. Is that what you say?
Yeah. You put the fish on display, and you just find little things that accompany it really well.
It's got that little crust on there, and the fish is really mild, and the whole dish comes together with that sauce and wild rice. You're right. You can taste that earthiness. There's it's one thing I can say. Wahoo! And I think you're going fishing.
Awesome.
It's excellent. This is a masterpiece. You did good. I've had wahoo prepared a lot of different ways. This beats them all, hands down. Well, thanks for joining us this week on Go South Outdoors.
Tune in next week where you'll have another chance to find your outdoors.